So we've got to the point in setting up our business where it's ready to go. We can take a payment. We've got a product on there. We've got a Shopify store. We've got good technology foundations. And now what we need to do is actually get the capture the finance. And what I've done is I'm going to show you Xero. I think it's the best product in the market. So Xero is the Xero product. It's cloud accountancy. This is what you should be doing with your business. You shouldn't be doing spreadsheets or anything like that. The reason for that is the cloud accountancy software opens the door up to integrations. In my framework that I was talking about at the very beginning, you've got a part which is automation and AI. Moving on to something like Xero is going to allow you to do some automations, and I'll start to show you that as well. I already have a Xero set up for the actual limited company that I'm using for this test, but this is what you're confronted with is as soon as you set up, you get this setup guide basically from Xero. My advice to you is, if you formed your company, put in your registration number, put all your registered office address. If you've got a separate physical address, do all of that sort of stuff. It saves you time later. I'm not an expert into kind of different parts of which fields filter into what documents within Xero. Just fill it in and be done with it. First question is your organisation registered for VAT? I was saying to you, if you're a new startup, it's probably, and you're selling to consumers, don't register for VAT. I'll maybe make a separate video on VAT registration later. So we're going to press no. One thing that is important is this white box here. It's not very obvious, and you need to set the financial year. If you've set your company up in August, you've likely got an August year-end date. If it's September, it's likely to be September. So make sure you go in and change that financial year. I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. You just press this update button, and you would then move the financial period. So let's say we were a July year-end date. You don't need to create this thing called a transitional period if you're a brand new company. So just press no, confirm everything, and that is it. You are good to go, and you are fully set up. Click back at the top for the setup guide, and then you're back in. It'll ask you that question about VAT as you come back as well. Other than that, that's fine. Absolutely great. So we'll press next. It's likely that you're not going to send invoices if you've got an e-commerce business. So you can press no, skip this step. And it's because when someone buys off Shopify, in my particular example, it's not going to do that. Now, I'm recording these videos to show you the principles of setting up a business and getting good foundations there. So if you do send invoices, then yes, press yes. And you can go into these options. You can upload your logo, and there's some default settings here as well. So if you're moving from a previous accounting system, you can set your invoice numbering system. So if you've finished on 1,000, for example, or 10,000 or 100,000 even on your numbering system, you can bring it across. And the same if you're using quotes or purchase orders. I'm not going to go into absolutely every single piece of detail. I just want to get you a quick start guide. So let's move on. So we press next. We've got users. So you would put users into the system. I'm not going to add any users at this stage. And I'm not doing multi-currency at this stage as well. A lot of e-commerce businesses that we've got as clients will do multi-currency later down the line. It's a good point to talk about pricing of the Xero products. I recorded a little video and I'll flash it up on screen. It's really for people who are doing self-employed or landlord, making tax digital returns, where I talk about the different Xero products. If you have got an e-commerce business, you're not sending invoices and you're not VAT registered, Xero have got a little subscription level called Simple. Simple, well, at the moment it's £7 a month. I think there is a little price increase coming next month, but it's a really good value product. It does a lot of stuff. That's fine. Now, to do multi-currency, we're moving right up the subscription, and I think it's maybe around £50 a month. It's quite expensive, but it allows you, where I've got people selling into Europe, to take payment in euros, or if they're selling in the US, to take payment in dollars, and we can have dollar and euro bank accounts. Now, £50 a month might sound like quite a lot for a subscription, but actually, I think it's tremendous value, again, for doing multi-currency, because it just does it automatically. If you move money between your pound sterling account and your dollar account, or dollar to euro, it does all of that stuff automatically for you. And if you've ever had to do that stuff manually, it takes quite a lot of time. So look carefully at the subscription levels. Just as I'm doing this, I'm just going to chat to you about some business thinking as well. Is when you are setting up for the first time, is you obviously get your business up and running. I'm a big fan of getting the account system in. And where I always tell people to do this, usually, is when the first sale comes in. That's the perfect point to do it. Because, until the first sale comes in, we don't know whether the business model's actually going to work. So you can have a little bit of time doing it. Now, I see a huge mistake. A company, you've got a 12-month trading period, and then you've got 9 months to prepare. Someone appears at my office a month before the deadline. So we've had a year and 8 months, and they're like, I think I might need to do my accounts. It's far too late. So get something organized. I think get your Xero set up. If you're doing this and you've got lots of transactions already coming through and you're like, oh my God, go and seek professional help. And I suppose, when do you go and seek professional help? It's probably at the point where you've got stuck with the setup guide and you need an accountant. If you do get stuck, by the way, my colleagues at Orange Umbrella, to just Google Orange Umbrella Accountants Newcastle, we should come up first on Google. And we can help with that sort of thing. And also it's about maybe sometimes structural setups and things like that. So, right, chart of accounts, the next stage of the setup, we've got that. Just click the default chart of accounts. I'm going to show you a few things later. We are going to come back to that a little bit. There's a couple of things that we're going to have to do at this stage. Is we can add a bank account. So I would suggest that you're not setting your Xero up until you've got your bank account open. There's a couple of other things in here as well that you might want to think about. Is if you're selling, for example, children's clothing as well as adult clothing, you might want to split your sales up. So the chart of accounts, imagine this is like buckets in which you're putting your things and measuring everything. So every transaction is put into an area. So I can just do a simple adjustment like that. Adult clothing, for example. And if I wanted to add a new nominal, so to measure that revenue item, I just click add account, and I can see there's a gap in the numbering system from 200 to 260. Press add account. This is probably one of the more difficult areas of Xero. And if you're not familiar with what a profit and loss and a balance sheet is, this can feel like, oh my God, what's going on here? Xero's kind of helped you here by showing you off to the right hand side. That's where things, if you choose revenue, it's right at the top. Obviously sales turnover right at the top of our profit and loss. Cost of goods sold is what, when I'm buying things like t-shirts from Incredible, that's where they're going to go, isn't it? And then we've got our overhead costs. But it can feel a bit unfamiliar, all of this stuff. And it's why you might want to go and seek professional help. You should be setting this business up to make money at the end of the day. So, invest in some professional advice. It's knowing when to go and get that professional help. I think if you haven't got any complicated setup like previous balances and stuff like that, I think you can do a lot of this stuff yourself without being an expert. Xero's a lovely product. Right, adding the bank account. Let's do that now. I'll show you another point where we can add the bank account as well. So you can just go in here. I use HSBC as my bankers. So I would just choose HSBC Business, and it's going to take me in and allow me to connect up a bank feed. Some of the more modern banks like Starling and Tide, they actually direct you to set this up on their app side. So it depends on how the bank have created their bank feed. What it means is anytime there is a transaction in your bank, it imports it automatically through this secure connection called a bank feed, and it'll bring it in basically. Something like HSBC, they're using this Tink connection, and it needs refreshing every 90 days. You don't actually have to re-log back in. You just have to click a button to say, can you refresh my bank feed, and it'll do it. Some of the bank feeds, they're not as good, and you do have to just put your login details in every 90 days. The more modern banks like Tide and Starling, because they're doing the integration on their app side, they just continue to work, and they're fantastic. And it is the first step of a modern setup, accountancy setup, to get that, because bank feeds will bring the transactions in. I've just pressed cancel because I haven't got a bank to integrate. I would maybe go at the bottom of my chart accounts once I've done that and press next. One thing just before I move on is if I look at the overhead expenses, and there's always a nominal I like to put in, maybe in the cost of goods sold part, which would be this direct costs, and 311 is free. So what I'm going to do is a couple of things here just to modify it. What this means is when I run profit and loss reporting, which I'm going to come back later, and I always abbreviate this, so I would do COGS, cost of goods sold, as abbreviation, and I'm using Incredible as my key supplier, and I'm just going to put a nominal. So any costs where I'm paying to Incredible, they would land into there. So it allows me to see revenue, what am I bringing in, and also what am I spending out on buying those. It's an immediate comparison on a report. Why wouldn't we do that? There is another thing as well, which I think one of the key costs we're going to have as well as the business starts to grow is the cost to Shopify. So Shopify are going to charge a percentage. Now, if you remember back to that video when I was looking at Shopify, it had different price points for the subscription. And if I chose the next subscription level up, I got a percentage discount on the payment. So I just might want to think, I might want to keep an eye on that so I can make an informed decision when to move to the next subscription level. Now, I'm talking about an e-commerce business here. Now, it doesn't have to be e-commerce. It could be absolutely anything. I've got a pet store. They're buying all sorts of like bird foods and dog foods and all of those sorts of things. They've got cost of goods sold nominals to track all of those things that they're buying in. And it's just to help you with reporting. So when you click on your profit and loss report, it gives you management information. Pete, that client I was talking about, leaving everything to the last minute, and a year and 8 months has gone past, and they've just been running their business from a bank account. They've got no real idea at how much money they've made, how much corporation tax is going to be due, or anything like that. So good reporting allows you to click the buttons. And the nice thing of Xero is it makes this job so easy for you to do. So we'll just put our Shopify fees in there. Lovely. Other than that, I'm probably happy with my chart of accounts, other than actually one key thing. Actually, I'm going to come back to it. Right. I'm going to continue without a bank account. You should have put your bank account in at this stage, so you'll be absolutely fine. But I'll show you somewhere else you can do it as well. If you've got a brand new limited company, then that's absolutely fine. You don't need to do any conversion balances. I think I've had a few comments back to me, questions that people have left on other videos, because I did a Xero setup for Making Tax Digital, and I think obviously those sorts of people have had existing data and they're like, how the hell do we bring it in? Conversion balances, it's a really tricky area and it needs accountancy expertise. If you've got your own limited company, a Companies House have withdrawn the ability to submit your own accounts. I think you've got to go and get some professional help. That's something that I would maybe go and get some help with. You're confronted with this conversion balances, which is what's called a trial balance. And if I press show all accounts, you'll see there are actually all of the accounts. And that's what you've got to put in if you're converting to a specific date. And you'll notice the dates are coming up based on when I chose earlier on what my financial year end date was. You need some help. The number one thing that you do in here when you're first setting up is your bank account. If you have an existing business, you put the opening balance on the last day of the previous financial year. Now, you don't have to convert at the end of a financial year end, and you'll notice on that previous screen that I was on, if I go back a step, if I can get there, sometimes it's not happy to take me back there. Let me go back. Yeah, there. It's asking when your conversion date is. Now, you could do it at the end of a VAT quarter, for example. So if you're mid-year and you haven't kind of come onto it, you've done your first VAT return, you're like, you shouldn't go back to the start of the financial year. You should probably do it at the end of the VAT quarter. That's a tricky conversion as well. Someone recently watched my Making Tax Digital setup video. They weren't Making Tax Digital. They were quite a serious business with a £1.3 million turnover. They had a lot of aged debtors, so people who owed them money, SaaS that they were conversing in, and the conversion of bringing the data went in wrong. The conversion balance had gone, they'd done it wrong. They deleted huge numbers of nominals out of the chart of accounts, which was the days that we were on before, with these buckets that everything would sit in, and they're just completely broken the Xero. Just careful and be measured about your approach and thinking there's certain things that you can get help with later. You can get help later with your conversion balance. Your accountant can do that, but choosing the right dates is quite important to get that right up front. In the chart of accounts, you could just go ahead. Most of those things that you need to run a business are already in the chart of accounts. So don't kind of go deleting stuff out there. Take a measured approach when it comes to working with an accountant. Go, could we remove some of these unused nominals? What's your thoughts about that? And you could take a bit more of an informed view about it. Anyway, I've done the set. I'm 15 minutes in, so here we are. We're going to press finish. And there you are, you're confronted with the Xero dashboard. The only thing that you would see differently here is you would have a bank account sat in here. I haven't added a bank account. Now, at this stage, if you didn't add a bank account as well, you could easily add the bank account later, and the menu would allow you to do that. So you'd go into the accounting menu. Now, I'm having a little bit of an error because the menu isn't working. So I'm just going to pause my video and see if I can fix that. That's actually quite a kind of useful thing to know. Actually, that just happened there to me. Is occasionally when you've been through the setup guide, the main menu, and you can see it's now appeared at the top here, doesn't appear. And quite simply, you just log out and you log back into Xero, and it'll solve that problem. One of the things that you can be confronted with is when you first set up your Xero, you go through, it takes you through the setup guide, and great. And then you log out and you log back in, and it'll prompt you to move into two-factor authentication. And one thing I would just say is Xero have got a product in the App Store called Xero Verify. I chose to set up on the Google Authenticator app. Actually, it's better on the Xero Verify. So allow notifications. And then what happens is when you're logging in, it just sends you a notification saying, is this you? And you go, yes. And it just logs you in. Whereas Authenticator, I'm always having to go into the app, find the code, type it in, press OK, and then it lets me in. So I'm like, I should really move on to the Xero Verify. Anyway, what I was just saying is if you needed to add a bank account later, is in the accounting menu, we've got bank accounts in there as well. And you can just quite simply, that blue button at the top right, you can add a bank account. Xero is very, very easy, and I'm going to just show you something in the demo account so you can just see how easy this is. Now, one of the things I just want to show you is one little modification that I possibly would make, and why I think the simple approach is important for your business. So with Shopify, so I'm talking about setting this Shopify business up, is I would possibly go back into the accounting menu and back to the chart of accounts. What I would do to make my bookkeeping super simple is I would go and create a nominal down in probably the current assets area. There we are. So if I look around just after prepayments, don't worry what they are, 621, I'm going to create an account, again choosing if I can find the right part, where is it? I've gone past it. The current asset area, there we go, at 621, and I'm going to create a nominal called Shopify Control account. Now, I said in my video about setting up Shopify that I'm not a huge fan of doing a direct integration into Shopify, and that's because it brings every single transaction into your Xero, and that can feel a bit like, oh my God, and you're duplicating what Shopify is already doing for you. Now, when you've got a really, really busy e-commerce store, you've got a kind of, I suppose, a situation where that could be thousands, tens of thousands of transactions. Now, if we've got something like that, what we can do is when we're reconciling our bank income, and I'm just going to switch into the demo company to show you how this works, but we can set up a rule that all of the income from Shopify, so all of those payouts that come out, we can just shove them to the Shopify control account. And then what we can do is run a report in Shopify, and you see the invoices owed to you here, we can actually create a new invoice. Here we go. And what I would do is going to ask me about this setup. I'm just going to press the X button because we're not going to actually send them. And I would create a contact called Shopify Income. So it makes it easy for me later to go and have a look at this. So let's say at the end of the month, so at the end of August, obviously we're not there at the moment I'm recording this video. I'll put plus, if I put +0, it's the same day. There we go. Just a quick shortcut. And then what I would do is I would put in the total amount of income that had been made from Shopify. So I would log into Shopify, I would look at the report, and I would say, oh, that's how much income we've made. Now, if you think about it, every time Shopify pays us, they're deducting some fees. So let's say we sell £1,000 worth of t-shirts, we don't receive £1,000 because Shopify have taken their fees off. So we've lost potentially a couple of percent. So we've got 900 and something pounds. So what we would do is we would put sales in, and I would say that £1,000, for example. So it's all adult clothing, great. And then what I would do is I would put my Shopify fees, and you can just look that up. And this is where we will put a minus figure in. And one of the clever things in here is people don't realize this actually, is if I can do maths within that box. So if I did a quick calculation about what 2% was, for example, and then just shoved a minus, obviously that's quite simple maths, but you might find that useful. I wouldn't do it like that. Look it up on your report and see what it is, but give you an idea. So now I've got £680. Now, this is a little bit difficult. Now, we're not emailing at anyone. We're just using this for reporting purposes. So I'm going to approve it into the system. What that means is that once I've done that at the month end, when I go into into reporting, and I run my profit and loss, although in my example, I haven't integrated my bank account, there we are. We can immediately see what we've made. What we have to do is we have to then push that invoice from sales, and we go back into invoicing. So that invoice there, we have to push that into our Shopify control account. So I'm going to explain why, because this feels a little bit confusing. Why am I doing it this way? So if I go into accounting and then chart of accounts, and I'm going to go and have a look for that Shopify control account that I made before. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click this button here, enable payments to this account. I'm going to press save. So it looks a bit strange because obviously all of the bank lines that have come in for the Shopify income, we're going to shove them into that Shopify control account. That just makes it super easy to reconcile. And as we move up the subscription bandings with Xero, we can turn on automated. So they've got this AI, they call it Jack, just ask Xero, but they've got this auto reconcile feature. And actually, what we can do is turn auto reconcile on. It means every single transaction could just be automatically done. And what we've disseminated is we've got one complicated thing in terms of an accountancy point of view that we've got to do at the end of the month, which is how do we report the Shopify income? It's not that difficult. The basic principles are: step one, we log into Shopify. We go to the financial reporting stage and we run a month report. How much income have we made, from what categories, and what were our fees? We do this for lots of clients. We come back to Xero, we create a new invoice just like I've done before, and you create this Shopify income. Now, if you've clicked that button in the chart of accounts to enable payments on account, so at the end of the month, we're going to mark this up as paid. So I'm going to choose, there it is, the Shopify control account, mark it as pull, paid, and record the payment. That gets rid of the invoice. Now, why use an invoice in this particular example? It's because it's a really easy mechanism to use. My colleagues would use something called manual journals, which is it's complicated double entry bookkeeping. And if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, that's easy to understand. But using the sales invoice functionality within Xero makes it really, really easy. What happens is whenever I go and look at what's called the balance sheet, and I've used what's called a control account, I should have all of my income that's been coming into Shopify, lovely, and then I'm putting one invoice in a month. That income in less my invoice should equal each other, so that it should get down to a zero balance. The reason for doing this is if we record every single bank line that comes in, it's obviously had fees deducted from it. So that becomes quite a difficult proposition because you have to work out the fees on every single transaction. Now, what happens if you move to subscription model in the middle of the month and your percentage changed, or there was a refund, or it can quickly get complicated. So using this thing called a control account means that we can, number one, move towards automation of all of the Shopify payouts. Great. We've got a method of checking, and that's the great thing of control accounts, because the other thing as well is Shopify won't pay you out on the same day. They will always be a little bit behind. So what they'll be doing is, money that's arriving at the start of the next month, it was actually taken in the previous month. So actually by running the report in Shopify and doing it the way I'm showing you allows us to check that it's actually equal, everything's equaling out fine, and it actually gets us reporting into the right months as well. So I know that's a little bit complicated. Once you seriously start making some money, go and talk to your accountant about it and go and look for somebody who's Xero specialist. One thing I was just going to say is my firm at Orange Umbrella, we only support Xero. And that's quite an intentional move, because as soon as you start supporting QuickBooks and Sage, and it dilutes your knowledge. And because I come from a technology background, I understand how technical support desks run. Is the more products that you run, the more problems you got, because you're like, oh, hang on, let me find the specialist in that area. Whereas you can just simply have everyone a specialist, and you're not diluting those skills down. So go and try and find somebody to work with who understands that. And of course, if you want to come and work with us at Orange Umbrella, we'd love to speak to you as well. Let me just switch into the demo company. I'm just going to quickly show you how you do that conciliation thing. It won't quite have the same look and feel, but it'll give you an idea to get started. And then I think we've got you going with the finance side. So I've just switched into the demo company, and anyone can do this, by the way. The Xero have got a demo company. You can just switch into it and have a bit of a play around. And that's actually a really nice thing to do, is, rather than changing your own chart of accounts, you go, oh, do you know what? I'll go in here. I'll have a bit of a play around before I do it in my own thing. But here we are. If you've got a bank account running with a bank feed, this is what happens, is it's bringing through the right transactions. My top tip here is the statement balance should always match your bank. And if it doesn't, something's gone wrong, and it means you need to fix it. It can be a little bit tricky to fix the statement balance if the bank feed has gone wrong. So it's another reason to take some professional help. I'm probably going to produce a video about that further down the line. But you can just press this button called Reconcile. Now, this is obviously Xero. I've got the kind of up the subscription levels, so it's got the features for auto reconcile. So you can turn this on. So if you've bought one of the more expensive things, don't turn this on to start with. Reconcile your own transactions for maybe a month, and then turn on auto reconcile, so it kind of knows what it's doing. It's learning from you. But you get the idea here. We've got received, and in this particular example, it's matching to an invoice, because this is a business that raises invoices. In my example where I was just showing you, imagine that transaction there was Shopify. We would put Shopify, and obviously I created a Shopify fees account in my own Xero. That's where I would put that. You shouldn't be VAT registered, so the system should default to no VAT. But it's very easy. If I go through here, like there's a bank fee, for example. Once you've reconciled it, Xero remembers, and it's very simple. You just put it in there. That's an example of a bank rule. So you can set bank rules, so it recognizes something and it allows you to do it. It's quite easy. You just, you would kind of go through, let's say that was entertainment, 100% for staff. You would just click the buttons. Next time that happened, it would be fine. So there's an example. Let's say that was Shopify, and then we put that to our Shopify control account, which I haven't got in my demo company, but that would be okay. And then it would remember next time. So we would just have to press OK. And then if we got the opportunity to turn on auto reconcile, it would just do that automatically for us as well. Really, really excellent tool. Xero's making this really, really easy for you. I think it's a really super product. If you become VAT registered, that means you probably need to keep some better records in terms of purchase invoices and stuff like that. There is a really cool feature called Xero Files, and I'm going to make a separate video which allows you to drop in your file. It does the data entry for you. It finds the transaction, it even reconciles it up. We've been using that a bit recently, and it's fantastic actually. So anyway, I've hopefully shown you enough to get you started with your setting up your finance stuff. Once you've got this, we've now got the whole process all the way through, from starting your business, registering a domain name, getting your DNS set up, getting your website up and running, getting your email up and running. We've got good security foundations that we've built. We need to maybe do a bit more work to build on top of it. We can take payments. We've got a bank account open. We've found our supplier. We've integrated that supplier. We've now got modern finance system in place, cloud accounting. We've got great ability to do integrations, and that's the next stage. Your next bit is where it gets a little bit complicated. Okay, I had one more. The next video I'm going to do is just a bit of a wrap up of things of this journey so far. So I've got to the stage where I've got actually a functioning business, and I've probably got to go off and have a bit of a think about like, how do I go and get some sales now? So I've fulfilled the initial duty over 10 videos, kind of a very, very short time period. I've set the business up basically. Right, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.